Just as the sun was beginning to dip closer to the mountains out my front window, my phone beeped with a text message. It was from my best friend and roommate, Liv. "I want to check out this nerd festival you've been talking about. Want to meet me for dinner? Or are you too busy sniffing books?" I chuckled and shook my head. Liv was my opposite. The pantsuits and briefcases to my leggings and books. But we were still inseparable 4 years after getting randomly placed together in a freshman dorm. Even though we lived together, we had barely seen each other all summer, both busy with new jobs. Happy as I was to hear from her, Liv's mention of the festival reminded me of my conversation with Sarah. I still felt awful about putting Bonnie in such a hard place. Maybe I could stop by and talk with Bonnie, tell her in person how sorry I was, and see if there was anything I could do. That might make me feel less guilty, at least. I texted back, "You're in luck. I have a break in my sniffing schedule." Grabbing my purse from under the counter, I glanced over at Hammy, sleeping in the dusty sunlight by the front window. "Wanna go see Liv, girl?" Ears pricking up, Hammy jumped and raced around me in circles as I attempted to hook her leash onto her collar. I chuckled and turned the sign from open to closed, then locked the door behind us. I hated that I had to close the shop when I needed to leave, but without an employee to watch over the place while I was gone, I was forced to do so. Everyone seemed to be at the festival, however, so I didn't think I'd be missing out on too many sales. Even in the evening, the summer sun shone, and everything seemed to be either a bright green or a light blue. My bare arms soaked up the heat and vitamin D happily as Hamburger and I walked the few blocks to the park that housed the festival. As we turned the corner, I spotted Liv walking from the opposite direction, coming from the town's university. Her blonde hair was swiped up into a high ponytail, and she had on a smart gray business suit. I waved, my mouth pulling into a big smile. Not only was it good to see my friend, but I could already smell the festival foods. Liv greeted Hammy. "Aren't you dying in that?" I asked, plucking the lapel of her suit as she stood. She slipped out of her jacket. "Completely." The girl had grown up in Seattle, not too far from here, so she shared my Washingtonian tendency to melt if the mercury hit anything higher than 75. Draping her jacket over one arm, she led the way toward the tents. "My office is air-conditioned, and I've been spending so much time in it. I think I forgot the sun existed." Liv had recently started a job as the assistant director of accounts at Northern Washington University and had been putting in crazy hours, hence the fact that we had to schedule time to hang out. "Aw, but you wanted to see me so badly you made an exception?" I placed a hand over my heart. Liv's eyes swiveled between me and the festival. Yeah, you. Not the fried food and desserts. Sure." I could feel her gaze pulling away, focused on the tents and old-timey pennants whipping in the wind. I laughed and bumped my shoulder into her as we walked down the first row of booths. The smell of delicious food swirled around us. Hammy stuck her nose in the air and sniffed as we walked across the grass, trampled down already by so much foot traffic. As we walked, I filled Liv in on the mistake I'd made and how I was going to try to make amends. "It doesn't sound like there's much else you could have done, Peps," Liv said, eyeing a meat pie booth. She patted me on the back. "You gotta stop being so hard on yourself." "Thanks," I nodded, hoping it would help me convince myself to do just that. Hammy pulled on her leash, obviously excited. We picked up the pace a little. The place was packed. Mansfield Park appeared to have just finished, and the audience members joined the already busy festival. I held my hand up to shield my eyes from the sun, currently flashing evening light on the grassy expanse of Pinecrest Park, so I could read the signs set up at each booth. Vendors were dressed to the nines in their finest Regency attire. I licked my lips as I passed by the Maryton Meals tent, remembering past year's festivals with baked apples, single-serve trifle cups, and puddings. Liv and I grabbed some meat pies from another vendor, eating them as we walked and chatted about our days. Just as we ate our last bites, we came upon Nate's latte stand, a temporary outreach from his brick-and-mortar cafe, Bittersweet. While not incredibly Regency sounding, the specials he'd created for the event made my mouth water.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.